Welcome to the Quick Talk Podcast with Joshua Latimer, where we discuss business, life, family, faith, struggle, fire, pain, and ultimately winning.
It's time to take massive action. Look, I can't work harder on your life or business than you do. It's ultimately all on you.
You know, God created all the food the birds would ever need, but he doesn't put it in their nest. You've got to go get it.
10 out of 10 people die. So how about doing something today that actually matters while you still can? What's going on, Quick Talk listeners? How the heck are you guys? Hope you're doing great. Hope you're feeling good. And if you're not, maybe this podcast can help change that. Maybe I can drip a little enthusiasm into your life. And if I can do that, that would make me really happy. I stay pretty motivated a lot. I do get burnt out because I redline and operate at 215 miles an hour most of the time. And I'm sure some of you guys can relate to that. But in general, I'm just hungry. I'm motivated. And when I work with people, sometimes they don't seem that motivated. You've heard me mention it before. There was this one guy that I was working with in the boot camp, and he was like frustrated that his business was small. And after we dug through all the data, okay, what do you do? Where are you located? What's going on? What's the company history? We came to the conclusion he was working like 26 hours a week on his business or something. And it's hard for me to even relate to that. And it's not about being a workaholic. It's about finishing what it is that you started. Now, my current projects, just to give you guys a little step back in history, you know, I have my software company, sendgym.com. But I had my home service company for 10 years. And what happened was, after I had totally automated that business, like a lot of entrepreneurs would, I got bored. And I would go to the office and I didn't have anything to do. I mean, sometimes I did. I'm not like over dramatizing it. I still paid attention to stuff. But it was like an hour or two worth of work a week. And I got one report on Monday mornings that gave me a complete snapshot of the entire company, of what was going on, the pulse, you know, was it healthy? And I got really bored. And the way that Send Gym originally started was I started taking pictures of customers' homes and putting them on like our estimate proposal sheets when we would go do like residential estimates. And so I had a sales team, and I would install these printers in their truck, and we'd take a picture and put it on the estimate sheet. And the response was like crazy, you know, because I was just trying to strategize, like, what are some really unique, clever ways that I can add way more perceived value? How can I stand out from the handwritten price on the back of a business card of my competitor, or a carbon copied tear-off sheet, right? And then when they get our package, it's like, holy smokes, like way over the top, like how clear the copy was and the pricing. And then there's a picture of their own home on this full color, glossy, like flyer. It just kind of added to it. And the response was so good that we started doing it every single time and made it a system. It was part of our process. Then I realized, you know what? Because we built our company using postcards. Like we do tens of thousands of postcards. But then I thought, you know, what would happen if I put a picture of someone's house on a postcard? Like, that's kind of weird, but it would definitely catch your attention too. So I started doing that. And it worked like a lot. But the problem was I had to do it manually. So it was a nightmare. So I was like looking for all these apps, and I'd try to find these little postcard apps where I could kind of like modify it to use it for this. And it was a pain in the butt, but the response rates were so high, it made me start to thinking. And being that I was bored and I had started to think, me and my partner Chris decided, you know what, let's take like 50 grand and let's build, because that's what I thought it would cost at the time. I was like, okay, 30 grand, 40 grand, maybe 50 grand, we can build this, right? And so I hired a bunch of developers from India and started making this app, and we were going to use it for ourselves as a secret weapon. Like, it would be a secret, right? Long story short, it evolved from there, and I made tons of mistakes, and parts of it became a total nightmare. And you fast forward like 5 years later, because for the last 2 years I had my service company, I was working on this app. Then I sold the company, moved to Costa Rica, started this podcast, and have been, you know, developing and improving our software for a long time. And we are a far cry today with what we do compared to then. But I don't know. I thought it'd be cool to share that backstory of, you know, because yesterday's podcast, I talked about the how. I talked about your systems. You know, how do you do this? When someone asks you to give them a price, most people are like, okay, here's your price. Well, that's crap. Like, let's push pause for 2 seconds. Let's think about how can we do it? How can we still get them the price, but make the process of getting them the price better. How can we win at those little nuanced details? And today I want to talk about marketing. So with marketing, I've been in the home service world. I've been in the digital marketing world. I've created online courses, generated millions of dollars online now through Automate Grow Sell, through SendJim being the main one. Automate Grow Sell is my secret, awesome passion side project. That's amazing. But I've learned a lot of stuff. And a lot of this stuff I've learned being on this side of the coin, like online and doing digital marketing and like building a tribe and creating content and how do you establish authority? How do you get people to know, like, and trust you? Like, these are still things that are totally applicable to you locally for a home service company. And you guys also know that I joined Russell Brunson's Inner Circle. It's a high-level mastermind group. It's pretty expensive. The price just went up now. It's $50,000 a year to be in this group. And if you leave the group, you can't ever come back. It's pretty intense. But the people in this group, oh my gosh, if you guys only knew, it's insane. They're so smart and they're generous and they're like in all these different industries, and my head wants to explode as I network with them. I talked to a guy last week in there named Isaiah. He has a $20 million company. He sells this marketing stuff to realtors, and the company's like less than 5 years old or something. It's crazy, and it's just normal. These people in this group that I network with. One of the other guys in the group, his name is Dana Derricks, and I've messaged him a couple times. I haven't been able to connect, but just wicked smart, and I'm learning so much, like laying low and keeping my mouth shut and learning. It's funny because I make these podcasts to you guys. I'm like, do this, and I'm all passionate. And I'm like teaching and doing all this stuff. But when it comes to me getting my strategy down to take our software company to 10 million this year, I keep my mouth shut. Like, I just need to learn, right? So I've told you that you need to be mentoring somebody, then you also need to be getting mentorship from somebody. And when you're the one getting it, like, be quiet. Just as a caveat, rabbit trail, sometimes when I talk to people that want help, they don't let me help them because all they do is talk the whole time. They don't listen. You know, I was at an event and I was sitting down with someone and I had massive things that I could have helped this person with as I was listening to their story. And I couldn't because the person wouldn't stop talking. It was like, and telling me how they need help and telling me all this stuff, but they wouldn't stop. So anyway, that's a side note. Your ears are your best friend when you want to learn. So here's what Dana was talking about. I watched one of his videos, and he was talking about how the sales process is the same for like everybody in any industry and all this stuff. And he had a really unique take on it I've never heard before, and I wanted to share it with you. So he was talking about these 4 steps. And Dana, by the way, like one of the things he did is he sold over $200,000 worth of books in one afternoon, just to give you some perspective on like his achievement and stuff. And he's a copywriter and he writes books, but the books he writes, he sells them for like $2,000 a book. So it's a normal book, paperback book, but he sells them for a lot more. And so it's fascinating listening to this guy teach because it's like, okay, a book is like one of the most commoditized things on the planet, and it's hard enough to get people to pay $25 for like a nice hardcover book. And he's selling books for $2,000. So what's the disconnect here, right? And how can we apply it to home service companies? So here, I'm going to get into it. Hopefully this resonates with you guys. I wanted to mix it up, do something different today. But step 1 for the cycle of someone buying something from you is where the prospect is at the first stage, and that stage is indifference. They just don't care. They don't care. They're indifferent, right? And I think we all can relate to this. Even people that have never heard of me or anything, and then let's say they come onto the podcast and I'm like, hey, you have to buy SendJim. They're like, ugh, gross. Like, I don't care. I don't care. I don't like you. I don't know you. It doesn't mean anything. Well, with your home service company, it's the same thing. People that need like their roof cleaned, they don't even know they need their roof cleaned in a lot of cases. Or if they need a retaining wall because they have a lakefront home and they're going to lose real estate value, I don't know, maybe they didn't think of that yet, or they don't understand how important it is. And so they start out as being indifferent. So the question is, what do we do? Well, if someone is cold traffic, they're cold. They don't know, like, and trust you. You don't have a relationship with them. You haven't added value to their life ever. They don't know you from Adam. They're in stage 1, which is indifference. And what your job is to draw them to you. You have to draw them to you. That's your only function. So whether it's a Facebook ad to cold traffic, or it's a piece of direct mail, or it's a flyer or whatever, the first step, according to Dana here, is to draw them to you using 3 things. The first thing is fear. Second thing is loss. The third thing is hope. And this could be a really long rabbit trail, but I'm hoping you guys can read between the lines. But for example, like you want to identify hidden threats. You can use statistics, you can use examples, but that's how you could like stroke the fear piece of it to someone who's indifferent to get them to pay attention to you. For example, like if they need that retaining wall, like what happens if they don't do that? There could be fear of loss, right? Like property value could go down. There could be, I don't know, like this is applicable to anything. And so I'm having a hard time grasping onto a specific example. And you don't do this unethically, of course, but like it has to be real, you know? Like if you don't, like, did you know that if you keep smoking, you're going to get cancer and die, right? Like, then if you're a company that sells a quit smoking product, that's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. So you draw them to you using hope or loss or fear. You identify hidden threats. You can use statistics or examples of what happened to other people if they didn't take action or something, right? And you want to use curiosity and stuff. But then stage 2 is what he calls SON. They're sold on the need. Okay, so after they go from indifference to sold on the need because you've like poked a pain point or you've scared them a little bit about, man, if I don't do something, that could be bad. Now they're like, I think maybe I really need that. I think I need to quit smoking. I think I need the retaining wall. Once they're sold on the need, they're in stage 2. And this is where you want to use curiosity because you know that they're kind of looking for a solution, but they're at the very beginning stage of that. So because they're looking, you want to use curiosity in your marketing. And what Dana says is you want to throw rocks. Okay, now hang with me here. I'm going to pull up this Blair Warren quote. Sorry, you're going to hear me clicking on my computer, but this is going to be worth it. Blair Warren. This is amazing. This is a weird podcast. Okay, listen to this quote, and then I'll explain what throwing rocks means, but this quote will give you context. Blair Warren, he was the author of this thing called the One-Sentence Persuasion Course, and internet marketers know who he is. He's like this godfather of all this stuff, but this is what he says. He says, people will do anything for those who encourage their dreams, justify their failures, allay their fears, confirm their suspicions, and help them throw rocks at their enemies. How crazy powerful is that? In a lot of ways, I think the reason that I've had success, like selling courses or connecting with people in this industry, number one, it's because I'm genuinely, authentically, I really care. And I think it's hard to hide that in the long run. Like, I really care about you guys. But if you read this sentence, people will do anything for those who encourage their dreams. Well, that's what I do all the time on this podcast, right? I didn't think of it that way, but it has a massive effect. Justify their failures. Now that would be an example like, hey, your business sucks, it's terrible, it's a mess, but it's not your fault, we can fix it. Like, you just didn't know, you didn't have the information, but now you have it and I can help you. That would be me justifying your failure. Allay their fears, right? Like, hey, it's not scary. This other guy, he didn't even go to make it out of high school and he built this $2 million thing, and this other person is horrible at numbers and they built this $3 million thing. And so I'm kind of like allaying people's fears when they listen to this show, and then confirm their suspicions and help them throw rocks at their enemies. So what he's talking about here, to go back to sales stage 2, is the prospect is sold on the need, and you want to pique their curiosity by throwing rocks at 3 things. You want to throw rocks at competitors, alternative solutions, and doing nothing. So what that means is like in your copy, you want to remind these people they're looking, they're curious, they're sold on the need. You want to remind them of some of like the dangers of doing nothing, the dangers of instead of getting the normal retaining wall, getting like a cheaper solution or whatever would like be an alternative solution to like your retaining wall solution. You want to remind them why that's a horrible idea and how that could be really bad and they would regret it forever. And you can even throw rocks at competitors if you do it tactfully, right? Like Russell has ClickFunnels, that's his core software business. And one of the companies they're going after is Infusionsoft, which is a very, very, very big company. I don't know how many users they have, but it's over 100,000, I think. ClickFunnels is like over 60,000 now. But what they have a whole campaign against Infusionsoft. It's pretty aggressive, actually. And I personally never done business like that, but as I watch them do it, like it makes sense because his whole company, they wear shirts that say, "We are not Confusionsoft." Because, one of the big things about Infusionsoft is that it's a very deep product. It's confusing. It's an older product, and it's hard to learn. I mean, it costs a ton of money just to get trained on it. And so Russell is throwing rocks. He's throwing rocks at him, right? Which is pretty aggressive and all that. But no matter what you do with this, I think this is interesting and valuable information. So that's what you do when they're in stage 2. Stage 3 is SOC, means they're sold on the concept. And what that means is they are sold now like, okay, I can't do nothing. They know they don't want like the plastic retaining wall that's like the cheaper solution. They know that they need a regular retaining. They need what you have. They need their roof cleaned. They need to take care of their lawn. They need to have their carpet cleaned because replacement cost is so high, and they shouldn't just rent the carpet machine that's cheaper because of this. You've overcome all that, right? So now they went from being indifferent to being sold on the need, and they're kind of poking around, and you threw some rocks at alternative solutions and them doing nothing, and now they're sold on the concept. So what you want to do now is you don't need to educate them anymore. And this is all Dana's stuff, but he had this on like a public YouTube video, so I'm just sharing it because it's already out there. I wish I could share so much more stuff that I'm learning, but I will. It'll happen. Anyway, what you want to do is stop educating them. Don't feature dump at this point. They're sold on the concept. They know they need the retaining wall, period. It's over, right? So now what you want to do is you want to validate their ego and help them understand how smart they're going to be for buying your stuff. You want to help them understand how prestigious they're going to be because they have your stuff, because they've already went through like the hard part. Now they're like, bam, I need a retaining wall. And now we want to stroke the ego and like convince them that they will be the best they could be with our help, blah, 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 right? And once you've done that, they move to stage 4, which is they're sold on you. They're sold on you. They know that there's other alternative solutions. They know they could do nothing. They know that there's other competitors, but they're rejecting all of that. They're sold on the concept, and they're sold on you, and they are like, you're the place that they're going to buy from, right? But here's the problem, is that people get to this stage, but they still don't buy. There's people that listen to this podcast that haven't signed up for Send Gym yet, or haven't signed up for the Automate, Grow, Sell boot camp, which is insane. It's insane. But it happens. So you're stuck in stage 4, like the buying cycle. And they're sold on buying. Like, you don't have to convince them. You don't have to just keep educating them and regurgitating things. But what you do have to do to close the deal is you want to focus on 3 things. You want to magnify the problem. You want to remind them that they're going to lose that, hey, every week that we wait, that those waves are washing away your lakeshore. You got to get this retaining wall in there. You also want to magnify the benefit, reminding them how prestigious it's going to be to have the most space-age, awesome ninja retaining wall ever, or the cleanest carpet ever, or the fill in the blank with whatever you do. You magnify those things in your copy, your ads, your emails you send to them, whatever, the postcards, in your marketing, right? And then you magnify the scarcity. And so, urgency and scarcity is what gets people to move. For example, if I told everybody I'm shutting down the boot camp, I have 5 spots left, it's closed at Friday at noon, I would sell 5 boot camps like today. Like we would, right? I don't really play that game because I don't like having fake scarcity, and I'm not going to shut down the boot camp right now. But what I do on a regular basis is create authentic scarcity and urgency. For example, with Send Gym right now, we're building this course. It's called the Sales and Marketing Super Course. It is unreal. You're going to hear me talk about it and pitch it and go deep on it over and over and over for the whole rest of the year once it's released, but I've been building it in secret. And when I went to build it in secret, because I have all these other teachers, a lot of the guests on the show are teaching exact, like screenshotted, here is how I do this in my business. Here is our referral system that generated us 1.6 million last year. Here is how we get commercial deals, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. There's like 15 other instructors besides me. It's amazing, right? So when I was going to create the course, I wanted 100 of our Send Gym customers to have the chance to like create it with me. And so I would do these live webinars and bring on these guests, and they would teach, and I'm like recording the session, but I thought, why do this in secret? Like, actually, Russell Brunson's the one that told me. He's like, just have your customers go through it with you. That way, when the course comes out, you're already going to have like video testimonials, social proof, right? Which we're going to have. We're going to have all this stuff ready. It's awesome. But back to urgency and scarcity. I limited it to 100 spots. I said you have to buy 1,000 Send Jim credits, and as soon as we get to 100, it's over. And the people that could kind of see the value of this course I was going to create immediately took action, and they're rewarded for taking action. But that's how you can get people from stage 4 to get unstuck so that they actually buy and they don't get stuck there forever. So if you're not actually asking for the business once they're sold on you, or you're not following up enough, magnifying the problem, magnifying the benefits of your solution to the problem, if you're not creating any kind of urgency and scarcity somehow, as long as it's authentic and you have integrity with it, then you're going to leave a ton of money on the table. So I understand that today's episode was maybe a little more deep than I normally go. But this is kind of the world, like this is where my head's at. And I want to share it with you guys. Some of you guys have really large companies that listen to this and I think can read between the lines and learn how to apply this stuff. So give me feedback. I want to know what you think about this stuff. Should I talk more about what I'm learning in Russell Brunson's Inner Circle? Should I bring that to the podcast? Should I just stick to talking about normal home service company stuff? Give me some feedback. Call and leave me a message on my voicemail number. It's 810-201-4555. And leave me a message anytime, and I'll be able to get feedback. That's how I'm going to know what you guys want. So anyway, I love you guys. Take care. God bless, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Hey, thanks for hanging out, friends. And from all of us here at the Quick Talk Podcast team, we hope you loved today's show. We hope that you were inspired to become a doer and not just a listener. Apply what you've heard today in your own business and watch things change for the better. Lastly, remember that all the money in the world can't save your soul. Seek first the kingdom of God, my friends. We'll see you next time.
For more information about the Quick Talk Podcast or Joshua's other businesses, visit our website, quicktalkpodcast.com. Have a blessed day.